An Army Reserve specialist was mortally wounded when an enemy rocket hit his base camp, located east of Saigon. An Air Force captain piloting an A-7 on a reconnaissance mission disappeared beneath a cloud covering near the Laotian border and became missing in action. A 19-year-old private first class serving with the 1st Battalion, 9th Marines, was killed defending an American base located just outside Khe Sanh. A Navy pilot serving aboard the USS Kearsarge launched an aircraft from the carrier's deck for a training mission. His S-2F tracker crashed into the South China Sea, killing him and 2 others. They were all serving our nation, along with thousands of others, answering the call to duty in the Vietnam War. Their lives were cut short. These men left behind their families and friends to grieve their loss. They also left behind their children, boys and girls who grew up without their dads, who grew up to become men and women still searching for answers about a war which divided our nation, a war which drastically changed their lives forever. I want to share the stories of these boys and girls, stories of growing up with loss and heartbreak, important stories which are powerful testimonies about the true cost of war. I want to share their stories because their stories are also my story. We all lost our fathers in the Vietnam War. We're very proud of our dads and their service, and it is very important to all of us and to our nation that they are never forgotten, that their sacrifices are remembered and honored. My father, Navy Commander Donald Richard Hubbs, was commanding officer of VS-23, the world-famous Black Cats, stationed aboard the USS Yorktown in the Gulf of Tonkin during the Vietnam War. It was his second tour of duty in Vietnam. On March 17, 1968, my father was piloting an S-2E tracker reconnaissance aircraft on a mission off the coast of North Vietnam. The airplane disappeared off the radar, and my father and his crew became missing in action. No trace of the aircraft or the men was ever found. During the decade that followed, our family identified a picture of a POW as my father. In 1987, we received a live sighting report from the Defense Intelligence Agency stating that their credible witness claimed to have seen my dad being held with other American prisoners near the city of Dalat. And finally, in 1993, I traveled to Vietnam myself to see what I could learn about my father's fate. In Hanoi, I discovered a Vietnamese grave registration with my father's name listed on it. Yet to this day, my father remains missing and unaccounted for. His name is etched on panel 45E, line 12 of the Vietnam Veterans Memorial. Growing up, I did not know anyone else who had lost their father in the Vietnam War, much less anyone else whose dad was missing in action. The war was unpopular, and many people did not treat those who served or their families with kindness or respect. In addition to coping with the loss and grief, growing up having lost my father in Vietnam left me feeling different from everyone else and isolated. But then, in the early 1990s, I read a Parade magazine article about a group called Sons and Daughters in Touch. And finally, I met boys and girls, now men and women, who grew up with the same experiences as me.